Hi, I'm Jennifer. Welcome to Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. Today, we're talking about how wasting time can actually be one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your mental autonomy, especially when you're living with a neurodivergent brain like those of us with NVLD. But before I go into today's episode, I want to acknowledge our Patreon members. Thank you for supporting this podcast. Without you, I wouldn't really be able to keep working on the podcast. Your support is definitely needed. Yes, the podcast can go on without Patreon, but it is easier for me to keep working on it with Patreon because then there's more motivation to do it actually because then I am putting basically Patreon is a platform where you can put podcasts without ads, and you can also put transcriptions or whatever you like for sale. And I have a couple of Patreon members who have purchased some of the podcast episodes on there and transcriptions. So thank you for that. Sorry if that wasn't worded really well. I have been juggling a lot of stuff this week, and as always, I'm dealing with the migraine. So, anyways, today's topic, we're talking about how wasting time can actually be one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your mental autonomy, especially when you're living with a neurodivergent brain like those with NVLD. Our cultural loves our culture loves productivity. You hear it in sayings like time is money or make every second count. But for those of us with learning differences like NVLD, ADHD, or autism, that constant drive to be productive doesn't always fit. In fact, it can leave us burned out and disconnected from ourselves. What if wasting time is actually a way to reconnect with our minds and hearts, to stop measuring ourselves against impossible standards and simply be present? I read an article by Stefan Joppick, a Medium called How Wasting Time Teaches the Importance of Mental Autonomy. He described how he used to follow a strict productivity routine inspired by YouTube creators like Casey Neistat, but over time it left him empty what restored his joy. Sitting in a park, wandering without purpose, and lying in a field just watching the sky. He quoted Jenny Odell's book, How to Do Nothing, which reminds us that observing birds, walking outside, and simply existing outside of productivity culture are radical acts of resistance. These aren't wastes of time. They are ways of reclaiming our attention from a world that profits from our exhaustion. Uh, let's tie this to NVLD experience. The NVLD project shares how time management is one of the biggest challenges for people with nonverbal learning disability. We may struggle with the executive functioning, organizing tasks, estimating how long something will take, or transitioning from one activity to another. The NVLD project encourages using strategies like planners, visual schedules, and checklists to build external time supports. These help the individuals bring order to what can otherwise feel chaotic. But even with that structure, our brains still crave downtime. We still need moments that aren't planned or optimized, where our brains can wander without judgment. It's a balance between structure and spaciousness, between using tools that help us succeed and letting ourselves be human. For myself, I like to walk my dogs every morning, and that's my time to kind of do nothing except for walking them and just go at their pace. And they've learned to go at my pace too, actually, and enjoy the time together out in nature and just walk together. I love doing that. So for me, living with NVLD and migraines, I used to feel ashamed of the time I spent resting, whether it was scrolling through photos of animals, living in a dark room, or doodling in a notebook. I tell myself, you're wasting your life away. But when I started building structured breaks into my day, little windows of rest between tasks, I saw how powerful those moments were. Now I plan my tasks using NVLD friendly tools like checklists and visual timers, but I also schedule time to waste in quotes. And you know what? That's when I reconnect with myself, recharge my brain, and even have some of the most creative ideas. Sometimes where I come up with the podcast topics. So try these practices this week. Structure unstructured balance. Block out focused work time, but also block out blank spaces where you let yourself rest or play. Visualize time. Use analog clocks or visual timers to make time more concrete. Plan for joy. Schedule hobbies and downtime the same way you would schedule a meeting. Let go of guilt. Remind yourself that resting is productive in its own way. For NVLD brains, especially, the combination of clear structure and planned pause time helps create a life that feels manageable and meaningful. What's one way you can waste time today without guilt? Take a nap, scroll through happy memories, daydream out the window, or go for a walk with no destination. I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message on Living with Invisible Learning Challenge. You can comment on this episode on the website, or you can leave a message. You can email me. I'll include the email in the podcast description. And you can also shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. So, what does mental autonomy look like for you? Thanks for listening today, Thanks for listening today, whether you're working through NVLD, another learning difference, or just tired of the hustle culture. I hope this conversation reminds you that your brain and your time belong to you. Until next time, I'm Jennifer, and this is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. Take care of yourself and take time for yourself.